Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. This morning, we're going to go to Vegas, and not the Vegas airport. We're going to talk about the Vegas nerve. Boom, it's time to wake up the Giants. Giants, we were talking about the Vegas airport and how it's not our guest's favorite thing to visit. So that's why I said that. But if you like Vegas airport, then I'm sorry to disappoint, but we're not
What
going.
happens in this Vegas doesn't stay in this Vegas, right? We're going to talk about a different one.
We'll talk
That's
about
awesome. We will. Oh, good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, co-creator of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants and 12 Journeys coaching. And I'm here with Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls. The whole reason why we're here.
And
And
boom.
the tortoise's hair. Oh my gosh, we've been working on that book. I say we. Let's be
Over
real.
a year.
I've been watching Nick relentlessly, tirelessly working on this and making it a reality, and now it is a reality. It's a book about self-love, and Frankie the tortoise goes on a discovery journey and ends up finding herself. And such an incredible thing to see that live, in person, real, in the hands of giants. This is the best thing ever. So thanks, Nick, for creating that thing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Here
Oh my,
it goes.
yeah, I'm so excited. So if you need a copy of the tortoise's hair, you can find it on Amazon, and same with the Giants and the Smalls as well. So we have an SG group, a Sum Gigante group, going right now. That is where we teach all of our information. It's a deep dive. We take a human through 12 journeys.
Just
and
human.
Just humans. I mean,
of course, for humans.
we're
Weird how that
perfecting it for other creatures.
Yeah, we haven't got the language down yet.
No, I mean,
but we're getting there.
seal barking is hard, so we've just stayed
Yeah.
to the humans so far, but we'll get there eventually. What else? Oh, we've got this morning. I'm really excited after this as well. This is a great morning. We get to go to Vegas, get to hang out there, and then we're doing a master class at 11 a.m. Mountain
MDT.
Time.
Yep. MDT,
Yeah.
not MST. Yeah.
MDT.
That's an important distinction.
So really, is it that far off? I don't even know. Yeah.
But we are going to go
come
over
to the MST. Come to the M what?
11 a.m. MDT. So it's a master class on the 12 journeys, and it's our commitment. We were talking to Lindsay Kapp yesterday about this, but it's our commitment to resilience, commitment, and courage. And so when you have those things, you really start to live a giant life, and the 12 journeys are the pathway to living a giant life. And so in that master class, you're going to learn the 12 journeys and how to apply those to just about every area. You can do it to your physical health, mental health, relationships, career, finances, addiction. It applies to everything. And so you'll want to be there. We have 30 people registered so far for the course, and it's a free course. The link is in the comments here. So make sure you click on that. There's still time to register.
Yeah, and this just touches the tip of the iceberg. And so we're gonna tease the snot out of you, so that you come and dive in, because really to experience the whole thing, like this class is like researching a vacation spot and seeing it and being excited about it.
Yeah.
Diving in is actually experiencing the full journey, is experiencing all of that, the deep dive that we do in our 12 Journeys program. So you're going to want to come get a taste of what's going on, and
bring your buckets and bring your notepads, because it'll be like sipping from a fire hose. It's going to be a lot of information. So
awesome.
Be ready.
We're excited about that. And what else do we have? Anything else going on currently?
No, I'm going to drop the link in the comments as well for the book, The Tortoise's Hair. The profits from that are going to the fulfillment of our Indiegogo campaign. We used all the funds to create the book, and now we're doing the fulfillment side of it. And so if you go contribute to that or buy the book, then we take the profits from that to fulfill our Indiegogo campaign. And so you're helping us out again, and we appreciate that. So make sure you get at least 100 copies each.
Yeah.
That's what we're shooting for. Yeah.
Cases, truckloads.
Cases. Yep. Yeah. No less than 56 at a time. So yeah, just nothing big.
Okay, well, enough with self-promotion. We've beaten that horse to death. So we're gonna let's introduce our amazing guest today.
Let's do it. Today we're joined by Amanda Freed. She's a body worker and anatomist with over 30 years of experience in healing and empowerment. Amanda has taught yoga, meditation, and mindfulness, working with a wide range of individuals, including Olympic athletes and stroke survivors. She's dedicated to helping people reconnect with their inner strength through practices like vagus nerve reset. And Amanda's workshops and retreats have made a global impact, guiding people back to their true selves. So please help me in welcoming Amanda Freed to the show. It's good to have you here.
Yay, it's good to be here. I love you guys already.
Already? Man, that's fast.
Fun. I love you guys already. I just want to hang out with you all the time.
We're lovable. We're lovable humans.
Thank you for that. We really, our goal here is to serve the person viewing, the person that's on the other side of the screen. And we used to have a grand impact that we wanted to make, which is, 100 million lives globally, but I can't even imagine what that number looks like. So we brought it down to something reasonable. One, if we can impact one person, then we're doing some good in the world. And so, as we really explore this, it's exploring your journey and showing people in your journey a possibility for themselves. And we really like to go all the way back to prior to you being who you are currently. There was a time where you thought you were somebody else. And we call that the non-conscious journey in our 12 journeys. But there's programming. You come into this world and you were not doing what you're doing currently. You didn't have all the letters, the alphabet soup at the end of your name. That didn't exist. You didn't even choose your name. Parents chose that for you, right? And then you had culture and society and trying to fit in and really developing yourself into somebody you thought you were. And are you willing to go into that a little bit of who you were when your world began?
I totally am.
Yeah.
I love that
you said no, then we wouldn't have a show. So.
That
was a nice time.
We click her off here. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be funny? No.
No. Okay. Well, thank you for diving into it.
Well, even the fact that you mentioned my name, I've always hated my name. I'm a teeny tiny human. You can't tell from this screen. I'm bigger than this, but I'm a teeny tiny person, and my name was always too big and clunky. And it never felt like me. And I never, ever felt like I belonged in my family. I always say I was the white sheep of my family. Because gypsies, tramps, and thieves raised me, it was such a
you're the good witch of sorts.
I am. I'm Glinda.
I love it.
So confusing because I was New York City, upper middle class Jewish neighborhood, but I wasn't that. And I always say I want my story to start differently, but I can give you that I met my father for the first time when I was 18 years old, which is atypical. Had I been a few miles down the road in a different demographic, I would have known a lot of people who were in the same situation, but I didn't. So right there, that was incredibly isolating. I didn't know any, we may have had divorce, I'm the child of the 60s and 70s. There was a ton of divorce, but at least you knew who the guy was.
Yeah.
And I had no clue. I had a big question mark as a father. So that was isolating, but also it's interesting that you mentioned, we didn't come in with this awareness. I actually did. I was born with what they call without a veil of forgetfulness.
Okay.
So I was I was aware of spirit before humanity. So being in this tiny little body box was very uncomfortable for me from jump, when people would talk to me when I was a child, you know how they talk to kids? I was furious. It's like, why are you talking to me like that?
People
I'm
still
so
talk
much
to me
smarter.
like that sometimes.
Well, now it's okay.
Maybe I'm a baby, a child.
Raised by dolphins, right? Like we can all relate.
They do that. And I remember thinking as a 4-year-old, you idiot, why are you talking to me like that? Just because I'm shorter than you? I'm so much smarter than you are and so much more. Or, you know, we would be sitting at the table. My family was all about material possessions. The truth is, my beloved mother who's passed, she wanted her ashes spread over Saks Fifth Avenue. That was the depth of her spirituality.
Wow.
But I was a spiritual being and I knew it.
There's worse places.
It's been done. By the way, somebody in the family
really?
did it. I won't tell you more.
It's like you're walking under the building, like dusting off. You're like, this is weird. Like, yeah, it is. It's
dusty place, Saks Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, I shouldn't even. Why am I telling? Anyway, we're all in trouble now.
Yeah, no.
But you know, I'd be sitting at the dining room table and I'd look at a glass, a drinking glass, and think, "Oh my God, it's so funny. They think this is real." So I always felt outcasted in that way because I didn't grow up with any sort of spirituality, except my grandmother was kind of intuitive, but she would hide it all the time. And so it was painful. It was agonizing for my whole young life, honestly. And at about 12 years old, my mother went to she would go to fortune tellers, even though she only believed in material stuff. She would go to fortune tellers, like for giggles. And she came home one time and she said, well, the fortune teller told me that you're not comfortable on this material plane. And I said, oh my God, Mom, where is she? I need to go to her because she understands me. And my mother said, I don't know how to contact her. She's gone. And in that moment, I made the choice. I'm just going to be normal like everybody else. So sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It was the 60s and the 70s. And I kind of threw away who I was and said, I'm just going to be like them. And that was even more miserable.
Yeah. What does that do? You know, the idea of identity, and we'll talk about this today. There was a man in 2007. He's 44 years old in France, and he feels a weakness in his leg. So he goes to get it checked out. And he goes into the doctors and they do a brain scan to see what's going on. And they discover that he only has 10% of a normal brain. The guy has an 84 IQ, so pretty intelligent dude, but he's working with 90% deficiency. There is nothing in there but cerebral spinal fluid in his brain. 10% is all he's working with. They call it radical plasticity. And he had a personality. He had an identity. He had, he operated in life just like normal. Nobody would ever know. And he goes around operating. Nobody would ever know that there's anything going on behind the scenes with this gentleman, but he had this identity, right? And it only takes a small amount of our brain to really adapt to and create this identity that we have. And when you really think about the power of the human brain, I mean, there's really no limit to what it can do. But we go about thinking, this is who I am. This is who I came into this world to be. We take that on. You were able to see, before that, this is all kind of ridiculous. It's all made up, right? You look at the cup, but even your name and who you are, you're seeing like there's no substance to this stuff. I'm saying I'm this, but I don't really feel it. And then when you choose to fit in, you're finding out, I just feel miserable because I don't really fit into that. Like I'm not being authentically me, right? And so, I mean, if we look at the power of the brain to create, even with a small fraction of our brain, the ability to create identity so we can fit in socially, it's incredible what the brain can do with just a fraction of its power.
Yeah.
And so can you speak to that? What does that bring up for you?
Well, I might be operating with less of my brain. You couldn't tell.
Some days I am. I'm like, how the hell am I doing this? This is...
I try not to smile.
But
like, dude, I'm off the hook.
But because we're tribal animals, we have to do that. Yeah. Right? My currency had to be the same as theirs. Right? Because every fear, we say there's love and fear, and every fear is actually a fear of isolation, which is actually a fear of death. So if I set myself apart and I didn't conform and be part of my tribe, I die. I mean, truly, in the natural world, you cannot live without that tribe, whatever it is, connection. I can't I can't eat without people getting me groceries in the grocery store, right? We don't think about those things. But what we do in creating that, to your point, Nick, is that very smart animals, that lizard brain is very smart. So we go, okay, I'm going to have to go along to get along, so that I'm accepted into my tribe and they continue to feed me and sustain my life. No
so
matter
we adapt.
we have to. And then eventually those adaptations are what destroys us.
Yeah. So, in this case, this man's living a normal life, but a normal life is a normal life. Whatever we've all decided is normal. Right. So we all say, hey, this is what we collectively agree to, and you need to fit into that. So here this man is, and he's living this quote unquote normal life. And each of us does that in our own way, but depending on where we're born and our culture, society, family, we start to adapt and adopt that normal life. And we do it at a rapid pace. From childhood to 6 years old, we're creating over 1 million synaptic connections a minute, and so that foundation is laid really early on. And then we go about acting as if that's us going into the world, not questioning it. And then if we do question it, we only do it in slight degrees and variations away from that original programming.
Yeah.
So, but in your case, you're sitting there going, okay, I'm going to adopt this, but I feel terrible. I don't feel like this is really me. And I wonder how many people can relate to this. Maybe they can put in the comments here. It's like, this isn't me, right?
And I'm consciously adopting it. Most of us are not consciously adopting it, right? We're just, and literally at that age, I was like, oh shit, I better turn this off, because this is not getting me anywhere. And, and years later, my mother told me that she could have actually found that fortune teller again for me, but she was afraid I was going to leave the planet. So, she chose not to. And then there's betrayal. And then there's, oh my God, I could have found myself. And I don't look back. Anything I say about family or whatever, there's no resentment. I've worked through it.
But you're not beholden to it. It's just a recall of a memory. It's like when the memory loses the emotion, it's no longer traumatic. And so it's just the memory is there and the visuals are there, but it's a retelling of the story, not a victim state. It's not like I'm stuck, right?
100%.
The difference between your story and and a lot of people that I talk to is that you were aware before you knew what your potential was. You knew who you really were, and then let that go, and then adopted the ways of the world and the things that you were supposed to do to fit in. A lot of like I say, me. It was I didn't have that knowledge. I didn't see that, so I just did whatever was expected or taught in my culture, my society, my family, my religion, all these things. And then at the age of I don't know, when did I meet you, Nick? 30, 38, 39 years old.
Yeah, 5 years
38 years
ago.
old.
Yeah.
I go, and it started just a little bit before that, but my life wasn't working for me anymore. It was the way that I had been and the way that I had been raised and taught. Although there was some very great things inside of there, my mind created an operating system, and it stopped working in adulthood, and I felt lost. I felt that my whole world was coming to a crash. I didn't know what to do to escape it or to solve it, or I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep up with that facade. And then I started to wake up to who I really was. And then this whole journey began. So but I think that's how most people would relate to what you went through too, is more of that, because they didn't really know who they were, and they're starting to discover now, oh my gosh, I'm so much more than this and what I've created in my life so far.
Well, in Al-Anon, we would say, because an active Al-Anon, we would say you had the gift of desperation.
Mm.
And I never got the gift of desperation because part of me is a New Yorker and I'm going to power through. So I never had the gift of I did hit a bottom, but not a bottom that would be obvious to other people. I didn't have that gift of the crash.
Mm.
And sometimes that is the thing that really makes you make the huge shift. But I've never, people that I know that, I was starving and I lost all my money and I was eating ramen. Well, I was never going to let that happen. So I didn't really get the gift of that crash. And so it's taken, you guys are maybe finding this at 35, 38, and I'm not that young. So it's kind of been a more gradual, slower adoption again and reclaiming who I am.
Mm.
I love that, actually, reclaiming who you really are.
This idea of self, who we think we are, right? So we go through that, and it's important to start here because until you realize the automations, Carl Jung says that as long as you are in your automations, then you'll continue to do what you've always done. You'll call it fate. You're like stuck in this pattern, but it's not really a stuck pattern. It's a recognizing, oh, I have these things going on. And then there's a waking up to it, this awareness. And when you get into that awareness state, I think it was Richard Schwartz says that at our core is compassion, that it's not something you learn. Compassion is innate. So when you talk about primordial power, I would imagine, and maybe I'm off here, that part of our primordial power is compassion and primarily self-compassion.
Yeah.
That when we wake up to that, we're aware of, okay, I have these things. It's okay that I have these things. If somebody else were sharing this with me, I would have love for them for what they're sharing. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Nick, you just read out of my notes. I told you I didn't have notes today, but it's exactly the work I'm doing. It's exactly what I'm thinking about and talking about. Can I tell a little story?
Yeah, no.
So I was, okay, fine. I was, I don't remember the age. I was somewhere between 9 and 12 whenever a little girl could go to the card store by herself in New York. And it was coming to Father's Day, and my maternal grandfather was kind of the father figure in my life. But this Father's Day, I remember thinking, I cannot go into the Father's Day aisle. Remember, I didn't know my father, and it was incredibly painful for me. And I thought, I'm not going to do it. I can't go into Father's Day aisle and read what a father should be, or how close, or, I cannot do that to myself. And so Father's Day comes, and my grandfather, God bless him, was him, and he raged at me. How could I not? How could I be so insensitive? How could I be so ungrateful? How could I not at least buy him a card on Father's Day for all that he's done for me? I almost said for all that he's done to me. Never mind. And I just remember thinking, this is not right. This is not how this adult in my life should be behaving. I was protecting my heart. I was having self-compassion. I was taking care of myself, and he should know better than to be so rageful and angry with a fatherless child that could not go into a Father's Day aisle. But at the same time, remember, I still need him for my sustenance. So even though I knew better, that was my self-compassion, primordial power, self-protector. I had to shut it off because the message that I was getting was self-care is selfish. You cannot engage in self-care. If I take care of myself, I'm hurting somebody else. And if I take care of myself over somebody else, I'm going to be cut out of the tribe. So at that young age, I get the message, all of those messages. So from then on, I'm not my own protector anymore. I'm not my own compassion anymore. Yeah, they do what they do, right, Andrea? Yeah, I get it. And so, but I got that message loud and clear. And at that age, I started to put other people's needs and wants before me. I understood the message that I cannot be self-compassionate. I cannot take care of self. And so we turn that off. And so to me, that is my primordial power was telling me, you are worth this, you can take care of yourself. And so there's a defining day for most of us that we lose the connection with that powerful person within us.
We become our identity, right? We become our ego, and we think that's us. And even our judgments, and this is what's interesting, our judgments and justifications keep us stuck. So we keep from learning as soon as we step into those. And the judgments that we tend to have of others are the things in ourselves that we've overcome. And we're most harsh on others over the things we've extinguished in ourselves. Like, how could a father do that? I would never do that to somebody if I knew that they were being raised this way. Right. So we judge that way. But then our judgments and justifications become the reason for us staying in this cycle. Right. We stay in that ego. These are reasons for us to stay in ego and to stay in society. I have to survive. I have to do this because I need sustenance. I've got to do this because, and it's mostly survival. Right.
Yeah.
And then, you're talking about the vagus nerve coming into the thing that regulates between the brain and the gut, the chemical responses is designed to help us to regulate that so that we can either stay in it and survive or heal it. Right. And that's where, when we go into our journey of grief, we're talking about the heavy emotions that come up, because often when you reflect on these things, you feel anxiety, you feel depression. Yeah. We fear that, and we're hardwired for that, right? That abandonment. And so when we get into that, we feel all these emotions, but we've learned how to tolerate those emotions so that we don't have to change them.
And stuff them or suppress them or mask them or drink them away or do whatever to make them disappear.
And it served me, though. But, the important part is it served me. In that moment, to shut that down served me, because I was still in the family and I could still eat. So, that's the important part of this, that we
I love the grace that you showed too right there, because so many people would shame themselves, continue to spin, and they wouldn't see the lesson or the growth in that too, and the serving.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't feed myself at that point. I was not, and this goes to, and I'd love to bring it in later, safety, this big conversation later, that's not safe. In that moment, because I was a child, it wasn't a safe relationship to be me. And that's the truth, because I was a child. But I want to go back to the vagus nerve stuff. So it's VAGUS, not like the other Vegas. And the funny thing that you said earlier, Nick, is, this Vegas, it doesn't stay in Vegas, but it truly does. And that's why my funny name of my workshops is What Happens in Vegas, ... Because, so we'll get to the anatomy piece first. So that it's the seventh cranial nerve that comes out. And the important part is, what you mentioned about the gut, absolutely true. But where does the vagus nerve go first? It goes to your face.
Okay.
So that's why if you're happy or you're sad or, whatever's going on, I can read it on your face, because the vagus nerve is informing your facial reactions. Right. And then we go down and we go into the throat.
Vagus nerve gives it away every time.
Exactly. My son.
If you got RBF, we know what's going on. Right.
When my son was a baby, he was so sweet. He was an angel. I would give him something to eat and I would go, do you like it? And he'd go, yeah, I like it. And I was like, no, you don't. Like, your face just told me you don't like it. I don't like it. I just don't want it anymore. It's really good, Mom.
My girlfriend, and Andrea, she's like, I want to lie to people sometimes, but I can't. My face won't let me.
Yeah, face won't let me. I'm a terrible liar. You ask anybody they're the worst.
Exactly.
My vagus nerve is active.
Exactly, and you can't even, and then it goes to the throat. So that when you get upset or you get nervous, you get this constriction in your throat. Right? Maybe you can't say what you need to say. So this is, my woo-woo friends would call this the throat chakra, right? And my throat chakra is all blocked. Yeah, it's part of the vagus nerve as well. It's true, but
I was gonna say that. I'm your woo-woo friend.
You can be my woo-woo friend anytime, Ryan. I'll take it.
Thank you.
But this is, and what I love because of my background is that I've got this huge anatomy background. So I'm a freaky anatomy geek. So that, like, this all conversation turns me on, right? Because we're mixing this physiological with now the emotional and the spiritual. And so then going down, it innervates the lungs. So what happens to the breath when I get nervous, when I get upset?
It tightens. Yeah, it's all up here.
Absolutely. Right? So for me, when I teach this and we visualize the whole pathway, we go, oh, that's a lot. And then the diaphragm, same thing. It's my breathing muscle. It's like, God, what happens to my breath? This is why when I teach people and when they're in trauma, I don't tell them to take a deep breath. I don't instruct deep breath. We just visit the breath, honor the breath. Because sometimes if you tell somebody to take a deep breath and the upset, the trauma is here, it's too much. They can't go there. They can't touch it. It's like, okay, maybe I'm not ready to go there quite yet.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the stomach, the abdomen, all the digestive muscles, boom, there it is right there.
It's so quick too. It's so amazing to me that, you know, they say that they can read our thoughts and they know the decision that we're going to make about, I think it's up to 15 seconds, 8 seconds before we actually know that we're conscious of the thought. So they can see the wiring going immediately. And then before our awareness, it's going. Right. So all of these automations, they say that we have 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, which is equivalent to about an 8/10 of a thought per second. Right. It's so much. And only 5% of those are original. And so we have all these automations going. And so like you get into these traumas, you're not even aware that you're having it, but your body's reacting and your thought is the conscious thought isn't there. The non-conscious thought is there, but the conscious thought is not. And, you know, it's just the power of the body is so fine-tuned and so ready to adapt to whatever's going on in our environment that we're not even aware of it because the body's been pre-programmed or pre-wired to handle it. Right.
And here's the thing, you know, you ever wake up from a dream in a cold sweat? Right? You have a dream and your body is experiencing it like it's happening. So with the vagus nerve, the same thing, you know, if I don't heal that, both physically and emotionally, talk therapy doesn't do the whole thing because this is now sitting in my body. So that's the thing when we say what happens in vagus stays there, the vagus nerve is actually storing this. And that's where I'm getting sick. And that's where we're getting sick because of the old stored stuff in there. So I might have relayed that story to you unhealed, and I would have the same visceral reaction that I had when I was 9. If I don't work on that and heal that. If I'm healed, I can tell you the story. And to Ryan's point, I can have grace with it because it's not right now. And I'm not in danger of my grandfather screaming at me right now, you know, some 50 years later. But how many, you know, I'll work on a body sometimes and I'll touch a body in a specific spot and they go, oh yeah, I had that car accident 30 years ago. It's in their body right there.
Right.
We're storing this stuff. And that's what leads down the line to illness and dysfunction in the body.
That's where Bessel van der Kolk's work, you know, the body keeps the score. It does. And you don't even know where, right? You don't even know where. And I want to hit on something that I've been learning about this week is the power of humming in calming the vagus nerve. You know, when you think of babies hum. 2-year-olds, toddlers are humming songs constantly. They do that to self-soothe. And I've noticed, like, I hum as I listen. I do this.
I hum all the time.
Yeah. And the humming is actually one of the ways that we can, and I'd love to hear your point on this, is it's one of the ways that it soothes that vagus nerve and it actually calms us down. And it's a tool that I don't think people realize how accessible humming is to them as a powerful tool to calm your system. Can you talk about that?
Well, yes. And I also want to really make sure that we honor that not everything works for everybody.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, so where humming might work fantastic for one person, if somebody still has a lot of trauma in that area, it may not be accessible.
And it might cause trauma in somebody else who's like, shut the hell up.
In the room.
Why are you humming all the time?
Why? Yeah. It's my binky. Shut up.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, if you think about it from a physiological point of view, you are activating that center. And anytime so what we do a lot of time in vagus nerve reset is we're trying to confuse the muscle or the system that's been in place for so long, just trying to do anything to reroute it. So the humming is kind of shaking it up and going, there's something else available here. You're kind of breaking an old pattern of being. There might be that tightness that the humming can sort of loosen up a little bit. But there's also, Ryan can come with me here because of the chakras. Every chakra has a sound associated with it. So even if you did the humming with the sound of the throat chakra, and off the top of my head, some of them are ra, la. I don't remember exactly which one that is, but kind of if you put that together with it, it might even empower that action more.
He was humming in harmony. All three of us.
Humming.
and that's the thing. But yeah, so I love to think of it as the energetic piece, but then also the physiological piece. What am I doing energetically? But then physiologically, I am actually moving my vocal cords, moving air past my vocal cords. So it's connecting with the breath in a way that's not commanding of the breath. Because sometimes we command if I tell people breathe this way, or, don't even get me started on breath work. If we do that, sometimes it's intimidating to people. So with the humming, the breath is just naturally.
No, I want to go down the road of breath work. I love this, like breath work. And a lot of people are using it. So I'd love to hear the controversy here. Let's hear it.
Okay. So
yeah.
God, you're just going to make me be New York and opinionated and everything.
Yeah. You know what? We're going to do it for a minute because I think it'll serve. We're really looking at, let me lay a little foundation here. When we're looking at tools of empowerment in our journey of empowerment, it's about finding things that keep you from sliding backward. There's a quote I heard. It said, you'll outperform 90% of the people in the world if you'll just not self-sabotage in your lows. And so the journey of empowerment is about finding tools that keep you from doing that, keep going backward. So tools, we hear about tools, but how useful are they really? You hear about humming, you hear about breath work, you hear about meditation or mindfulness. So I really would love to hear your point of view on breath work and why as a tool that might or might not be a good way to go.
Okay. So I'll give you a tiny background. When I learned EFT tapping, you guys know tapping, I learned it and I went, oh, this is bullshit. I'm never going to do it. And I have no use for it. Welcome to New York. And then when I decided to study it, to teach it, and I learned what it really was and the background, then it had meaning to me. I went, oh, this is an amazing tool that some people would love. And now I teach EFT tapping from a whole different perspective. Listen, I'm an anatomist. I'm a scientist. I love the why. I need the background. So with breath work, how do you feel when I tell you we're going to work?
Oh,
I want to go to work. And your breath, is it work? Are you, when you're sleeping, are you working on your breath? Are you going, oh my God, I better breathe now because I'm going to die?
You have sleep apnea, maybe.
Right.
Okay, I like where this is going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
It looks like what is that, Alien?
Right.
Yeah, I feel anybody that's watching,
and part of it
we
is
love you.
It's kind of like religion, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to work at this connection with God. You have to work with your connection with your breath. The next newsletter, one of the next newsletters is going to be, there is no I in breath. You don't have to work or orchestrate your breath because, again, it creates for some people more tension, more stress. Oh man, now I'm going to fuck it up. Like I can't even breathe right. And so, when
kind of how I felt like, man, I've been doing it wrong my whole life. I can't even breathe. I don't know.
Exactly. So what we want to do, especially in trauma-informed work, We don't want to promote any stress at all. So when I teach breath, recognize your breath. Breathe and know that you're breathing. This is beautiful.
Breath recognition better than
Just
breath work.
awareness, right? Like
Attention.
just notice it.
It's also a mindfulness practice because now I can put my attention where I want it. Right? I can just pay attention to it because it's a gift that's been given to me. You know, they say, and this is a beautiful way to look at it. Shakti is the feminine power of the universe. So they say that when you're born, Shakti exhales into you. For the rest of your life, Shakti breathes you. And at the end of your life, Shakti inhales and takes the breath back. So I would rather teach it in a way that people know, oh, this is something. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that is beautiful. Yeah. It truly is. It's one of those things that just happens. You know, it's like your heartbeat. You don't beat your heart beats you. And your breath just breathes you.
You are being breathed.
That's beautiful.
At every moment. And so do I do breath practices? I do. I teach Nadi Shodhana breath. I teach others, but I really want to take the work piece out of it. And the pressure of the fact that same with meditation. You can't do it right. You can't do it wrong. You cannot fail at this. So I just feel like we need to be so much more gentle. And then, you know, with breath work or something like that, I feel like it's just another way for somebody else to own something. Rather than
you know, it's a lot of work sometimes, you know. You figured it out.
Rather than, you know, empowering people and saying, you already have this.
Yeah.
This is not something I'm teaching you or giving you. I just want to remind you, you already have this.
Oh, okay. So let's hang that right there is a key. Is, you know, everything that we teach, people are already equipped with. They just don't recognize it, right? So when we bring awareness back to it, courage is at our core. Commitment is at our core. Resilience is at our core. Our adaptability is at our core. It's not something you go earn or get. It's something that's already there. I think like Wayne Dyer says, abundance isn't something you acquire. It's something you tune into. And when we look at everything that we do, it's not something you go acquire. You don't acquire being a giant. You tune into it and your attention grows it. It's essentially, it's already there. The seed was already there. So that's where, you know, the breath isn't something you go get. You know, mindfulness isn't something you go get. It's something you tune into, really shifts everything, right?
Yeah.
That's where we expand. I got one more thought to add to that is Viktor Frankl says that no more. Viktor Frankl says, you know, your visions and dreams are not something that you pursue. They're things that ensue, which means they come from you, you know? And so the more you tune into here, the more things come out of that. And there really is no limit. What does that bring up for you?
I think for some people too, sorry. And then then it's your turn again, because this is your show, man. And this isn't my show. This is for you. But I think that's where there's that crossroads of then the fear mixed with, there's an inner knowing and an inner truth, but also the worry and the doubt and all of the stuff that we talked about before of, well, what are the consequences of me tuning into what's true? And that's where when I went through, I'm going to call it the crossroads there, that there was so much heaviness, so much worry that my tribe was going to leave me, so much fear that the people that said they loved me wouldn't love me because I was now not performing to the way that they wanted me to be. And for a lot of people, that is enough to put them back into sleeping mode, or to hit the snooze button again and continue to live a life of quiet desperation, to continue to live a life of not being fulfilled, and fully recognizing who they are truly at their core. And it's it just can be a very heavy moment. So seeing that and then moving through, that's kind of the next step for, like, what do you do there? How do you now know that and then move through?
So Ryan, did some people leave?
You know, what's funny is that some pulled back or shifted, but they weren't they were kind of background characters anyway.
Right.
The truth was, and the truth was they could.
Mm-hmm.
But really, when I started loving myself enough and going, look, is it true that I'll be okay? That there's people in my life that love me just for being Ryan. I have this saying on my a lot of my taglines on my bios that says Ryan doing Ryan things. I'm a kind person because I'm a kind person. I'm lovable because I'm lovable. I'm Ryan doing Ryan things no matter what. And if they left, would it hurt a little bit? Would it be sad? Yeah, that sucks. My life could be could be. I don't know if it would be or not. It could be better with them in it. But now I don't. It doesn't matter because I'm okay here. And it was a journey. It didn't come overnight. It wasn't like I just woke up and instantly felt that way.
Yeah.
It was a remembering and then building upon the remembrance of who I really am, and that I'm good.
There's
I'm really
so
good.
much to unpack there too. When Amanda did Amanda things when she was 5, 8, 9, and 12, she was ridiculed and she was alienated.
Mm-hmm.
So she stopped doing Amanda things.
Yeah.
And learned to do family things, how they did it. And so the first thing is that if, I see people now as chess pieces, that they don't necessarily have to be thrown off the board, but sometimes they got to move back a little, right? And if they can behave, then they get to
There's a few that might have had to get shoved right off the checkmated. I don't know.
But they keep themselves off the board. See, I remember saying to one of my meditation teachers, like, so do I have to throw people out of my life now? And he said, no, the more you become, like the Velveteen Rabbit, right? The more you become you, the people that don't resonate with that will fall away naturally. This is not an action we have to take.
I have a thought around this and then keep going.
Yeah.
But somebody had said that if our friends were meant to be in our lives forever, we would have married them. Now they may or may not stick around, but
he's saying this to a divorced person. So
yeah. So it's but that idea, right? People come and go, friends come and go, and friends change throughout life, right? Naturally.
It doesn't have to be this ripping, tearing. Plus the fact, I'm growing and I'm changing. So some people don't fit that growth, nor do I fit for their growth. We're shoots, right? We can offshoot in different directions. And I have to remember that the universe hates a vacuum, that those people will be replaced by
fills the void.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But we don't have faith in that. Hold on to that terrible relationship because I'll never find another and I'll never find a better. Right? My mother would say the devil is better than the angel you don't. Right? I'll hold on to whatever's in my life right now because there's nothing else going to be there. And this is such a lack of faith and a lack of faith in myself. But one of the things in between this and that, Ryan, when you recognize the day that you recognize it's not working, and to get to the place where it works is such a long journey. And it's a long journey through that vagus nerve, what's going on in your body. That's the work. So if there's any work in this, that's the work, because think about trying to muddle through that mire of old emotion, old habit, old codes in your brain. That's the work. That how do I now convince myself that everything I've convinced myself of over the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years is not the truth.
Because you have your habits, your patterns, all the things, that you've automated. You've automated, 95% of, what did you say, Nick? 95% of the thoughts every day are automated thoughts.
Yeah.
So 5% is conscious awareness and thoughts.
Yeah, every second.
That's a lot to shift. There's some work to be done.
Well, the beauty too is that, going back to my snide comment there, is that certain friends hang around and you didn't have to marry them.
Right.
right? They just hung around because they wanted to be in your life, and they did that. They chose that, and they stayed in that contact and connection. And so it's like some of these things that we hang on to is, oh, so and so left me, or I was abandoned, or this happened to me as a kid. And we retell that story not from the space of just simply retelling the story, but from a space of, this is justification for me being who I am today because of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's over there saying the same story, but their justification is, this is why I am healed today because of that experience. This is why I am such a powerful person today because of that experience. Not holding ourselves down, we're building ourselves up. So same experience, right?
Well, and for me, I always felt like people were choosing not, the abandonment story is huge, obviously,
Mhm.
right? And they
Yeah.
didn't want to be with me. And now I'm going, wait a minute, I don't even like that person. Why am I doing all this work to keep this person in my life? Love me, stay with me. And I'm like, I don't even like you.
Right.
What am I doing? And it's just, this level of healing now where I get to sit back and question, do I even want to be here?
Yeah.
And you don't ask those questions because, you just figure for me, I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be accepted. I didn't even think about who I wanted to be accepted by.
Yeah.
You raising your hand, Ryan? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Calling
when,
yourself out.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you get to that
Yeah.
level of healing and you go, that discernment of, I get to choose. And
Yeah.
my inner wisdom, when I get back to that powerful part of myself, I go, oh, maybe this isn't. And again, I don't say it's unsafe because I'm an adult. I'm safe. It's not an unsafe relationship. I don't like you. You can't threaten my safety because
The
I can
shift
do
for me
myself.
was like the shift was like that I like to be liked. I like to be liked. I don't need to be liked.
Right.
I don't need that anymore.
And
I
by
like
whom?
myself. And so and that's okay. And if people want to be in my space and be in my world because they like me, fantastic. Then here
Yeah.
we go. Let's live life together. If you don't, you can move to the edge of the chessboard.
And by whom? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
I
they
want to be
can.
liked by everybody or
Nope.
just the people that I like?
Yep.
Yeah. So this brings up for me, the idea that we discover who we are, our true self. So we really get to the core of that. And there's this battle with social connection, the judgment of who I should be, the should. And if you look at the word should, I just wrote a post on this on what should is. Should is actually to owe somebody or someone something. It's a debt. And so if we look at shame, Brene Brown talks about shame shame is the high interest that we pay on the shoulds of our life. So
Gosh,
it's
it's such
on
high
the debt.
interest.
Right. And so we shame ourselves and we pay this high interest for who we think we should be in relation to what we think others are thinking. And the whole thing is all made up, right? What we think others are thinking is our own creation. And so we put ourselves in debt with shame over something we've created, this debt, this imaginary debt that we've created in regard to other people. And when we can wake up to that and realize I can wipe out this debt today. We talk about forgiveness, loan forgiveness, is you can wipe that out today just by a shift of thinking about your true self and who you really are at your core, because you're not any of those shoulds. You don't have to be a certain person. You don't have to wake up and do the things that you think you need to do. The ideals and dreams that you made up that you now measure yourself against are all made up. It's not who you are. It's just simply, I gave myself this vision and goal. Now I'm measuring that. Now I'm finding myself wanting. And now I'm depressed because of this gap between where I am and this thing I made up. And that's where most of our suffering comes in, right?
Well, and I'm Jewish, so we corner the market on guilt. Not as much shame, but we have plenty of guilt.
I was wondering about that. Like, who has all the guilt in the world?
Yeah, who has
the Jews,
oh,
right?
yeah, there they are.
And I like it so much better if it's self-inflicted.
We do.
So somebody said that to me recently. Like they try to make me feel guilty. I was like, dude, you can't make me feel
Yeah,
guilty.
yeah. You
And then
don't
I
any stock in that.
Yeah.
We own it.
And then I said something about I felt guilty, and he said, I thought you didn't. I said, no. Self-inflicted, good, other inflicted, bad. But and to absolutely what you said, and I love it, and I love Brene Brown, and it served us.
Yeah. Okay.
It did serve us.
Yeah.
All of
Thank
that
you.
served us at some point. But this is, I think I cracked the code of what it is to be an adult. To know that I am my own protector and provider. I don't have to put that in anybody's hands. And once I know that, there is no relationship that is life or death except the relationship with myself.
That eliminates the
Dependency.
codependency, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like you're just it's here. It's like it's the coolest thing once you realize that. And doesn't mean that it's not a struggle some days, because there's still some of the stuff that comes up. That's the work. The
For sure.
patterns and the old feelings. I'll have situational things that I'm like, thought I was good, and I'm like crying in a corner, sucking my thumb, like rocking myself, like I'm not good. I got to work, like, and maybe it's not that extreme sometimes, but there'll be things or smells or tastes or relationships that come in that will test that and go, oh yeah, maybe a little bit of work to do here.
Right.
And
But that's
beautiful.
Okay. Yeah. That's the triggering that goes, oh, look, there was an unhealed wound. Now I can go back and heal that one.
Okay, so I keep hearing, Ryan, like you said, work like 15 times.
Yeah, sorry, it's
but no,
I'd love to shift that
that's an awareness, right?
Too. Yeah.
There is work
So
to be done.
The work. So if you look at, I had to look it up real quick. The work, the word, the etymology on it is some action that's required, right? It's required. And that's where there's that sinking feeling. Like people say, hey, I'm going to break up with you because I need to work on myself. I've got this required action for myself. But you used earlier the word practice, and, doctors have a practice, and we're practitioners. We're practicing this, and practice isn't required. Practice is something we get to do. We could do, we play with it. We learn from it. Children learn from play. We practice riding bikes. We practice walking. And then in that practice, we get automated and more efficient and fine tune it to where we don't even have to think about it anymore. Right. So could practice be the word that we could use in lieu of work?
Well, it's my 3 M's, right? Meditation, first and foremost, mindfulness, and then movement. You got to get your body in there. So within those practices is where the work happens. Spontaneous. Now I've got to get my ass to the cushion if I'm going to meditate. I've got to train my awareness. Meditation is not mind training. It's awareness training. We'll talk about that another day. So I've got to do that. I've got to train my awareness, and I've got to move my body. So that's the work of the practice. Right.
The muscles don't come from just staring. I'm literally, I'm going to unveil the curtain here. I am literally staring at the weights on the ground, but I don't get, I could just look at them and be like, yep, there they are. And I'm good.
Nope. So that's it.
But the practice is the movement. That practice is the movement.
Yes. And change only happens if I keep doing that over time. So yes, absolutely. Practicing for me, those things and teaching those, and take that, oh my God, I got to work at this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I sent a message to a friend last night, and it's a picture of me. It's an upside down picture because I was laying on the ground, and I don't know, like you could kind of see that because of the light, but I'm upside down, not wanting to do anything else because my arms were mushy from lifting the weights. I was doing the work, but then my motivation kind of failed me because I was like this, trying to hold the weights anymore. I needed to rest for a second, and there's some lessons in that, but you have to get down on the ground. You have to do the work. You have to, it's just a part of the journey. Yeah. I don't know any other way.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, so we're kind of at the time here. And, as we think about the conversation today, it's looking at your journey, right? Going from being born into a family where you're given a name, you're assigned a name, you're given belief systems, you're given values, culture, society, you're connected to all that. You're seeing the disconnection between who you really are and that. You adopt that, you feel miserable in the adoption of that. You find out that I don't want to be that anymore. So you go down this pathway of re-emerging the original self, that core self, which is your true self, and stepping fully into that, and then wanting to serve others through your discoveries of re-emerging. And it's like all those things had to happen so that you would become who you are today. Like you wouldn't be who you are today in this iteration of you without any of those things. And so they did serve you. But then as you look at, I've got this deep curiosity about the body, the anatomy. It turns me on to learn about the vagus nerve. It's like, this is so incredible to me. And that's essentially how it is, this deep
I didn't
curiosity.
know it was such a turn on until
Yeah.
now.
It's like all these things, though, like we all have some version of that turn on. Like this thing turns me on. It's this thing that excites me and gets me curious and I want to know more. And we dive into it effortlessly. Like I would do this all day, right? And so that's where you can really discover, what turns you on is likely aligned with, in some way your core values, your core self, right?
Yeah. And it's still happening, to your point.
Yeah.
Well, this happened. I'm not done.
Yeah.
So I am where I am. It's still unfolding. It's still happening. You don't graduate. I didn't graduate. I'm not going to graduate. And sometimes it even takes that long to find out who you are and what turns you on. Because usually when we were that young, whatever turned us on or lit us up might have been judged against. And we have that in there too.
Yeah. Don't do that. And we have that, right? Don't go there. We don't do that. Not in this family, not in this society. Right.
So we've got to reprogram even that and with compassion for ourselves.
Yeah. I love that. Ryan, final thoughts here?
Well, I mean, when we said we weren't gonna go to Vegas, I was like, or the Vegas airport. I'm glad we didn't, because that's not as fun. This has been amazing. It's probably way easier than you think. And I'm speaking to that person that's listening, that's at home, that is sitting there in the judgments and the worry and the doubt and the fear, that they're starting to wake up, and then they're saying, oh my gosh, well, what if this happens? What if I do this and then people leave me? What if this happens and my world comes crashing down? I mean, there are possibilities, but the freedom that comes, the self-love, the shackles of sorts that just fall away as you do this, as you practice and as you grow and come back to the remembrance of who you really are. There is nothing greater than discovering who you really are inside. And thank you, Amanda, for helping us remember, and then the work you do to shift that and to reprogram and to guide people through is that is the most selfless thing. And I appreciate you for doing that and being that in the world. You're a gift, and thank you.
Thank you. Ugh, don't make me cry in front of
I teared up because it's real for me. I went through it, and I'm going through it in various aspects still. I don't think I'll ever stop. There'll be things that come in and come up, and as I elevate and grow, more will come in, I'm sure, and get to discover more about myself and who I really am. And so emotion is good in that. I love it. And so again, yeah, thank you for being on today and just sharing a sliver. I know this is just a sliver of what you do, but we appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you. For those that are watching, those, speaking to you because you guys know you're on the other side of the screen here.
Use guys.
Follow, yeah, you use guys. Follow Amanda. So you see the link there in Facebook. So AF Yoga 25. Go make sure that you follow her there. And then I just posted the link for today at 11 a.m. MDT for the masterclass. So there's still time to register. So grab the link and go grab your seat. It's free. And we're going to dive deeper into the true self, which we call the giant. You know, the giant is in essence your true self. And we're going to show you tools and tips to become that. And if you haven't gotten the copy of the book over, I don't know where it's at, somewhere on the screen.
Yeah, there you go.
Some of the imagery of the tortoise's hair. Go to Amazon and type in tortoise's hair and help us reach our goal. Thanks, Andrea, for being on. Hugh, we see just a ton of you that continue to support us every week. And what's funny is we hear some of you are actually watching this in other church meetings or whatever you're doing. It's like they're talking up there and you guys are watching this. So we love that. That's kind of cool. Not expected. But you are the reason that we do this. Like if we're really getting down to why we do this, it's because of you. Like our goal is to show you what's possible in the story of Amanda or the 280 plus other people that we've interviewed, you know, to show you, you can do this. You're equipped for this. There's nothing off the table. The only limitations, I think it was Chris Smith said that possibility exists, limitation is created. And so it's our limitations that get in the way. Townsend Wardlaw said that every belief becomes limiting by the nature of believing it. And so we basically box in the universe and say, that's it. And so it's not it. That's what we're here to tell you is it's not it. And so we hope that you'll join us in our courses. We hope that you'll join Amanda in what she's doing. She's doing a powerful work here. Mm-hmm. And every guest that we bring on is showing you a demonstration of what you could do too. So I hope you can hear that. Is there anything else to share today, guys?
You know, I'll leave you with a quote from Matt Kahn, who said, whatever arises, love that.
And let's end there. Guys, make it a giant day. We'll see you in the next video.
You guys are awesome.
Love you too.